Hey everybody, it's time once again for another episode of Mid Card Mono. We have over here or here, I don't know how it's gonna be when I record or when I, see this recording. It is Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur, aka RVD.
We look about the same, I think, right now. Except I have a cool beard. He
Hey,
might be fatter than me now.
maybe he's in the Hall of Fame though, so can't take that away
I'll
from
give
him.
you that. I'll give
I
you
mean,
that.
you can take it away from him. That can be revoked, but
Good. That could be
we're
my
not
gimmick.
taking that away from him.
Suck it right out of him.
Yep. And of course, the loose cannon. And we are talking about a lot of stuff in wrestling that's gone on since we've last spoken. So let's try and maybe do this categorically. So let's maybe do a couple of quick videos. Who knows? I'm just letting you guys behind the curtain right now.
It's
It's 6 a.m. in Hawaii because this is the time that we can record for you all.
For me.
Maybe two people.
Quietly.
Yeah. For maybe all two people that watch this video.
On me.
Yeah.
As it gets later, it's like a rumble. Everybody's trying to push me off.
Yeah, you are the big show, and everyone's trying to push you out. So actually, speaking of, let's actually start with WWE and everything that's gone on since we last spoke. Big thing that happened the most recently, I believe, were the firings of some of the NXT talent, including Drake Younger and Velveteen Dream.
Surprisingly, I wasn't even sure this was coming because I think everybody expected it right on the heels of the other firings. So I think it was a little bit surprising. I think it caught everybody off guard a little bit. According to Alexander Wolf, it wasn't as much as a firing for some people as a hey, we're just not extending your contract or even offering.
Yeah, I think that made it clear for him because he, I think, had explicitly stated, my contract runs out, I think on, was it June something, June 14th or 15th or so. And so he's available to start working the next day.
I mean, kind of crazy.
Cool for him. It's a bummer. I felt a little sad for Alexander Wolf because I thought he did such a great job transitioning from being part of Sanity, right? And then getting sent over to NXT UK and immediately slipping into being part of Imperium. I thought that was a testament to how well he was able to sort of change his style, his gimmick, what was going on with him to accommodate that. So I think he's a loss for them. I think it's a bummer that they let him go. But I hope that he's able to find somewhere else to go very quickly. And I don't think he should have too much of a problem with it because he has shown, especially with that transition from Sanity to Imperium, that he is a great worker.
I would honestly expect to see him show up in Impact.
Back with Eric Young?
Really would. And I mean, there's stuff that he just right into over there. He's a really good worker, though. I wouldn't mind seeing him go elsewhere, other places at all. As long as he's on my TV, really. This is a guy who would fit right in. He just needs an opportunity. Others, I guess the most notably is Velveteen Dream.
Yeah.
And I think here you have a guy who didn't have a ceiling.
He didn't. Yeah. No, Velveteen Dream's situation makes me so upset because he was a wrestler that was so easy to get behind. You watched him in Tough Enough. You watched him really grow and expand and find his gimmick, and it just worked for him. And he was so likable. And then you find out that he's a creepy, okay, as a person that works in education, to me it is totally unacceptable when you're being creepy to teenagers. I'm sorry. That will immediately put me off of you, no matter how much I liked you before.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we can look at the modern product and be in the current society we're in and accept these things at all. But I think we can't be blind that before all of this, this still happened. It
Yes.
wasn't this generation that got caught. And it's like almost a little bit of a double standard because, I don't want to say guarantee, but if we look at the people in power now, the people in, I'm not talking just necessarily like Triple H kind of power, but even like Road Dogg or Shawn Michaels, these kind of wrestlers who have power, I guarantee, I'll use that softly, but this has
Yeah.
happened before with probably a lot of people in control.
No, I agree with you. And it's something that I've
Probably
had
why
a
he was still
discussion
there.
with. Yeah. I had a discussion about something similar with one of my other friends, and it's sort of like, not all, but it's a good chance that a lot of our favorites from yesteryear have engaged in similar behavior. They are fortunate in the sense that they didn't get caught. They didn't have the same sorts of technology today that or that we have today to sort of save all that. And yeah, I'm it's a hard thing to reconcile. Because in this day and age, our whole perspective is people should know better than to behave that way. But some of our favorites didn't know much better to not. So how do we still have some heroes and then not allow these others to achieve those same heights, for lack of a better word? Yeah. So it's
a double-edged sword, really. I mean, if you really look at it, there's so many different variables. But like Al Snow has said before, I mean, it's a business of criminals. I mean, really, if these people weren't wrestlers, they would be in prison, for a lot of them. So I mean, the writing has been on the wall all along. A lot of wrestlers will talk about breaking into the business, and some of the old timers, trying to stick thumbs up their asses in training, different things like that. Not just trying to break them mentally, but why wouldn't you consider that grooming? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These young wrestlers breaking into the business. So I mean, yeah, a lot of these guys who are legends, I would not doubt that if you had a magic camera and you could go back in time and look at everything they did, probably at least the same thing that Velveteen Dream did, if not worse. He had lots of charisma. I imagine his career is done at this stage. I don't think anybody's going to touch it.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think that anybody, with the amount of evidence that has come out, and for lack of a better word, how much he really fucked himself with it, and how the WWE at first had kind of doubled down and was like, we looked into this and there's nothing to it. It's just sort of like, well, y'all played yourselves.
That's definitely what everybody else is asking right now. It's like, okay, why let him go now? If you proved he's innocent, let him go. And I mean, that is, one of those cases where I think they probably thought things would blow over,
and it never did. Yeah,
it never did. It's like, hey, welcome to modern society. Things aren't going to blow over. It's online for life now.
Yeah.
But I imagine that's what they were thinking. It would blow over and they're just going to keep him on the back burner. Now they realize it's the money contract that they're losing out on. They're not using somebody for 6 months and it's taking big cash to keep them on the roster.
Cut him loose. Yeah. And I think going back to the frame of mind, like you mentioned, they had probably imagined that things would blow over, it would be easily forgotten, or people would forgive and forget, like how I think the other sort of scandals that the WWE had were, of course, with Paige's leak and Seth Rollins' leak of explicit pictures and videos. And to me, that's a totally different situation in the sense that, one, they weren't sending these to underage people.
Right.
And two, they both, in their own ways, faced them head on and said, hey, I'm sorry this happened. This isn't how I wanted you guys to see me. These were private, this does not represent my time with WWE. And of course, Velveteen Dream can't really apologize for it because it's an admission of guilt, which to him might be worse. I'm really not sure. I don't know that frame of mind, but I truly do hope that he is unable to be in that position of being this celebrity or this wrestler or whatnot, because as you and I both know, being that in that level of stardom, right, it gives you a lot of access and a lot of power to people of all ages, not just young children, but I mean, there's wrestling fans that are tiny children, wrestling fans that are like my 96-year-old grandpa, so it's just a situation that they should not be part of anymore. And we saw it, not to go too far outside of WWE, but we saw the similar thing with Joey Ryan, of him trying to return to wrestling, right? And the internet did not forgive, nor did it forget. And that event got pretty much
Joey hasn't
destroyed.
done himself any favors through his whole thing. And not to, I mean, even his situation and Dream's situation, I mean, while it's similar at the same time, Dream kept his mouth shut, and Joey had to jump on and defend himself and lawyer up. And I mean, I can understand lawyering up, but, he really tried to rebuke everything. Then it was the whole, I'm Christian now, and I found God again, and let me do this whole thing online and try to, I don't know, it just didn't come off very authentic.
Yeah, he immediately went to discredit rather than, and I not to defend Marty Scurll, but at least Marty Scurll had the balls to apologize. I still, and as you know, I loved Marty, and Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc hasn't really spoken too much. I had tons of Marty Scurll shirts in my closet. So it was difficult, and I applaud him for at least being like, it wasn't right what I did. I didn't realize at the time, it didn't occur to me at the time that my additional position as her wrestling trainer and being at that level of stardom as at, that it had put her in a position where she probably couldn't say no. I appreciated that he owned that. I still don't think he should come back to wrestling. When they had a time where it looked like Marty was coming back, I understand what he was to the business, but he no longer can be that to the business.
Right.
I can love and respect what he did in the ring, but still totally acknowledge that he lost the right to do that when he made that choice. And yeah, maybe he didn't mean to do something bad, but
business
he
has
did
changed.
and
You know,
and he needs to face it. He needs to own it.
it's
And
the
I
wrestling
think he's
business
done
isn't an
better at
outlier
that than,
anymore.
yeah.
You know, it's a commodity now. You know, it's not something going to be traveling around in circuses and all. You can't just have Dick Slater come back, and that pocket where they committed a crime stays silent. You know, it's everything's out there now. So it's not just politicians. If you've done something and you fucked up, then it's going to come back to haunt you. Today is a not safe for work video, I think. But yeah,
How many of our videos are actually really safe for work? You know, we kind of talk a lot of shit.
You know, if you do something, it's going to come back. The cats here are just, they're having their own match under the table right now. So if you hear some like rumbling,
I did hear a meow, I think. But yeah.
Just to move on, not spend too much time on these guys, but address the firings. We also have the recent QAnon referee that's come out in WWE. That got handled quick.
Yeah.
It was like, we're having firings, toss him on the bridge.
Well, I think because Drake Younger, or formerly Drake Younger, Drake Wirtz, I want to say is his actual last name, or his name in the WWE. You know, beloved indie star. You know, he has had many matches, notably with Jon Moxley in CZW. You know, he was an indie darling. He was. And then he gets into WWE, and at first everyone's stoked because, hey, Drake Younger's in WWE. He's not wrestling per se, but at least he's, you know, doing stuff, making that WWE money. And then as time progresses, I don't know if he's always had these thoughts and opinions. I don't know if it's indicative of his time spent with certain people in WWE. I don't know if these last 5 years have emboldened him to think differently and to be upfront and vocal about it.
Which it has.
I really don't know. But recently, I think the big issue was that he was seen in Zoom calls, and
he had the referee uniform on.
Yes,
the WWE on, and went to one of these meetings.
Took off work to go to one of these meetings. From what I understand, I don't know if that's true. I wasn't there, obviously.
If he wasn't in his WWE shirt, I think he would have been safe. You know, you just can't go dressed as an employee.
I think he
would have been safe from being fired. Let me say that.
I don't know about that.
From repercussions.
I don't know about that. Because I think definitely, even as a WWE referee, you're still a WWE talent. And so you have to, like, there's a sort of code that you have to follow. You wouldn't see, you know, Stephanie McMahon sitting in the background of one of those things, because she's just smarter than that. She could believe it. She could believe it all day, but she knows that going there and being seen, being confirmed as having those opinions that are so controversial, and especially the anti-mask sort of thing, anti-mask, anti-vax, QAnon sort of thing, like, she's not dumb enough. And
there's a double standard there.
Okay, well, maybe Stephanie McMahon wasn't a good example. You can
follow the money.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They donate a lot of money.
You're right, but it is a little bit easier to overlook because you don't see them. You don't see their faces. And I think that was the biggest issue, because he was very, very present, you know, on that Zoom call where he was very, very up in the camera, and he was talking a lot and all that. And then when you see the actual, like, news coverage of some of these, and he's sitting there in the front row, no mask, just full on. When you are a wrestler or
and I would say too,
have achieved that level of fame, and truly I like once you're that, you know, you're recognizable, and to be associated and recognizable in something that is so uh, controversial,
Mhm.
I think no matter what, he probably would have suffered
I think you also have to
consequences.
consider that right
I
now the
think
golden boy,
even more so because
Roman, you know, there's been a lot of things happen because Roman and his situation with health wise and everything, and the pandemic. And I mean, like Miz got in trouble because Miz was sick one day. He wouldn't. I don't think that that particular time he had COVID, but he was sick, and then everybody freaked out. Um, so I mean, there's that whole aspect right there too. You know, we know Vince and then their whole family is quite conservative, donate a lot of money to conservative causes and whatnot. They run, his wife runs on a conservative platform. You know, has worked for the Republican Party, so we know they're very conservative. But then you have like Roman, yeah, they're going to follow the mask mandate because Roman's, you know, he's had bad health, obviously, kids at home, young kids at home. So it's an interesting dynamic that WWE has and follows, and what they back and what they don't, publicly, privately, corporately, you know. Because I mean, you run in a business, and they know very well that there can be outbreaks. They've had outbreaks. There's currently an outbreak in Japan, so they've had to shut down. So I mean, it's interesting. Like you have somebody on your team who is so die hard anti everything at the moment. Um, how does that fit into your work environment? You know, if he's a referee, become a referee on SmackDown, uh, how does that fit in with someone like Roman? Do you want Roman's not going to want him refereeing his matches or even in the building, and
and
that's a power play,
rightfully, yeah.
right? So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know about the others, everybody else that got fired. I'm, you know, I know there was a lot of non-TV talent, but then there was people like Vanessa Bourne, who I thought had a very
Yeah,
good upstroke.
that was the other talent that I was going to mention, because I thought that while she hadn't been on TV very much,
Mhm.
I thought that she had a lot of potential, because I felt like she really had embraced what they had given her.
Mhm.
And the few times that we did see her on TV, and for the times where my friends that have watched, like, go and watch NXT live, and some of the dark matches they've had, they've really enjoyed her. So I was pretty bummed, especially because
Right.
I feel like they're probably going to have another sort of grouping of women's talent in NXT start to move around, because it's I mean, it's a great division, but it's been the same main people for quite some time. So I think that they're going to start to have some more moving pieces, maybe going up to the main roster, maybe shifting some to NXT UK. I'm really not sure. They did bring over Tony Storm to be more part of NXT instead of NXT UK.
Mhm.
So who knows if somebody's going to move over there? Who knows if somebody's going to pop up to the main roster?
Uh,
So I'm very
yeah.
curious as to what's going to happen, and it's just a shame that she cannot be a part of that. Another women's talent that got released, if I remember correctly, is Kavita Devi,
Yes.
who was one of their few Indian talents.
Yeah. Yeah. My battery's running low,
Ruh-roh.
and it's supposed to be plugged in. There we go.
Did the cats knock it?
It must have. All right, all right. Yeah, I think you know, I was kind of pulling for Vanessa too because she is someone to um always got to pull for our brothers and sisters. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a list here in front of me of who else was cut loose, but I think the big surprises was Alexander Wolf for me. Just a solid worker. Dream didn't really come as a surprise. I think the biggest surprise was, now, why now versus before. Um, Vanessa Bourne was a little bit of a surprise. The others were just kind of like, you haven't used them. Um, I mean, I can, as a company, I can understand, but I think at the same time, it's like WWE has the money. Um, you would think right now, I don't know because I feel like there's a lot of factors going on because of the pandemic and everything. But I think too, my big conspiracy theory, I guess, throw me in the same bus as the referee now. Um, but my conspiracy theory is that they've had to pay back Saudi Arabia, because they haven't done shows. So um, I think that Saudi money, that Prince is like, hey, they've already had a few run-ins, so I don't know. But yeah, that's probably been the biggest news out of WWE, I'd say. Besides, maybe a lack of creative aptitude, and the zombie battle or zombie lumberjack match.
Oh God.
Yeah. I'll get your
So
thoughts on that.
I think the thing that bothered me the most about it is how much they sort of wrote off what happened to John Morrison the next day. The Miz is nowhere to be seen, right? Because assuming uh, that what we think happened actually happened, he got eaten by zombies, right?
Happened in
Then
this match.
yeah. What
He
I
actually
don't know.
got
Anyway,
injured in the match. I think he tore his ACL.
which
He's actually going
then
to be out
rightfully
for 6 to 9 months.
no, they just actually let the zombies eat him. Like how you put down a racehorse that can't run anymore, just like that. I gotta imagine.
Oh,
Um,
poor Miz.
but yeah, and they had this whole angle where the Miz was eaten by zombies, but John Morrison also seemingly got eaten by zombies and
Did
then
he?
was
I haven't even
totally
seen the
fine the
match.
next day. Okay, well,
Really? So
make a
so they
choice.
just they just Morrison got eaten too, but he just showed up on SmackDown, or is he on Raw? I don't even know.
I believe it's Raw.
Wow. I'm curious because Morrison was kind of a big signing. You know, I, WWE offers a guy like that a contract. Of course, he's going to take it, but it was still kind of a big signing at the moment with Morrison and the Indies and whatnot because he was pretty active. Um, so it's interesting. Right away they put him with the Miz, and I think that kind of said more than anything. They didn't have a plan for Morrison when they signed him. It was just, hey, this guy's out there. We got to sign him before anybody else.
Yeah.
And he has his little niche there, but um, what are you gonna do with Morrison now? You know what I mean? But if the Miz is out, what are you gonna do with him?
Yeah, they're gonna need to figure that out real soon. Because they had him, I think, against Damian Priest again on Monday. I could be wrong. It's been such a blur, all the WWE stuff, because I just burst into flames at the zombie match. It's just like, why are we giving
Wow.
time for this? Um,
Yeah.
it was funny for like the first 2 minutes, and then I was done. I was like,
Like you had
I'm not
MVP
invested into
defending
this.
it. MVP said, okay, fans don't like zombies, but they love the Undertaker. And I'm like, that's not a really fair assessment because, Undertaker, yeah, it'll come in during a gimmicky stage. You know what I'm saying? Like at that time, you had Big Boss Man. That's one that stands out to me notably.
Characters. You had big characters.
Huge cartoony characters. And Undertaker just survived through all that over the years by redefining his character. And so you can't say, well, you like the Undertaker, you don't like zombies, that's dumb. He redefined himself throughout the years. Like if you had zombies come in and you had a context with the storyline, if Bray Wyatt brought in zombies, you'd have some context.
Yeah.
Bray Wyatt's a dark character. You have all these crazy things go on with him. You could almost write it off. You know what I mean? And fans would probably be behind it. You can't just have, we're going to have a zombie lumberjack match all of a sudden out of the blue. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I missed when they had announced that it was going to be a zombie lumberjack match. I caught the lumberjack part. I guess maybe I was so upset about the zombies that I just blocked it out. I don't know. I really don't know. Because I was so baffled by it when they did the thing on the pay-per-view, right, where John Morrison's walking around and he sees the lumberjack locker room and he opens the door and it's a bunch of zombies. And I was watching this and I'm like, did I just drink some LSD? I was like, what's happening? Am I high? Am I on drugs? Like I was very confused. Maybe a certain demographic enjoyed it. I didn't understand it. And that was the thing that kind of made it a bummer, is because if you were gonna go camp, right, go all the way. Because I felt like as the match was progressing, I'm like, is it going to be that the zombies are just gonna attack whoever loses? Okay. Then they can never show up on WWE television again. They need to be dead because that's what happens.
Oh, right. So I'm like, for one, and if I was a writer for WWE and they come to me and it's just like, we're gonna do zombies, and apparently it was to promote a movie with Batista.
Batista's movie, yeah, Army of the Dead.
Batista couldn't even show up to help promote this. I'm sorry. For one, I wouldn't have done it if Batista couldn't have been there. Sorry, I wouldn't have. I would have promoted it differently. They could have done a
right, because then you could have had Batista at least like save them.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
Play up the idea that Batista's a movie star. You have Miz, who's Hollywood, and you could play it up in that fashion. But they didn't do that. So, how do you get this over? Like, really, if you're a writer, what do? You just bypass this thing totally, and I feel like there needed to be some sort of content. But here's my thing: if you're going campy, like you said, you're going campy. Why don't you just keep using it throughout the show? I don't know if they did. I didn't watch, but
yeah, how'd you get the zombies all out? Yeah.
Why wouldn't you have zombies chasing for the 24/7 title? At least then you have a reason why they're running.
They did have zombies appear on the screens during and after some of the other matches in the Thunderdome, but then I was just like. And I didn't even notice it until my cousin was like, look, they're in the back. And I was like, they're in the back where? And then I noticed on the screens. I'm like, oh. On the screen. Because they've learned to use technology.
Oh, they're actually on screen.
Yeah.
But here's my thing. Why couldn't they roll into the ring? Apparently they did eventually.
Yeah, they did. They swarmed as, like a crawling zombie swarm pace on the Miz. So it was something that was possible. They
couldn't figure it out until the match was over.
No, I guess they, just respected the rules too much,
It's, yeah.
Yeah, it was, the show itself as a whole wasn't bad. It just felt like so many things felt like rehashes of WrestleMania. Of course, that's why they called it WrestleMania Backlash. That it just, like, nothing was a surprise, and that's a bummer to me. I don't like being able to call what's going to happen in a match, because it makes it less fun for me to watch it.
Yeah.
Like if I can be like, all right, it's gonna be this. Oh wait, watch, he's gonna hit this, and within the next minute, and then when I'm just like, why? Like
At the same time, I don't want to be surprised with something stupid.
that. Yes, no, you're right. That's a better way of
You know,
putting it.
because often that's what happens is like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. That doesn't make it better. It still has to be thought out, smart. And they don't often do that. It's like out of left field, something really dumb happens to catch me off guard. I I don't know. I haven't watched WWE programming much. I'd say maybe 2 shows in the last 6 months,
Yeah, that's fair.
and I don't miss it. Like I keep up with it somewhat through, people will come to say, hey, this happened, or if it was something really major, of course you'll see it on Twitter or Facebook or something.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just
I
like,
keep up
this is
kind of peripherally.
From an outside perspective now, it's like, man, this is Titanic. And I mean, we've compared it to that before, but it just seems more and more that things are getting worse over there. And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll start watching again. The zombie thing made me laugh. I was like, you got to be shitting me. what are they going to pull out of their ass? I mean, are we heading back to that happy character aspect that made them popular? And I would be fine if they do that. It's just that you got to commit one way or the other, in my opinion.
No, you're right. I agree. Yeah, I suppose we'll see, because I feel like Karrion Kross specifically with his whole thing with Scarlett Bordeaux is very much character like, mostly because of Scarlett. Alexa Bliss's sort of thing with Lily and all that is another thing that I like, in the sense that I appreciate her dedication to that character. I feel like without Bray Wyatt, I'm not as invested.
Yeah, I'm hearing quite a bit of backlash over that.
Well, I feel bad because I respect Alexa Bliss and her ability to be these different characters. I think that's really important. And she's shown she can be the glitter, glitz, sparkle Bliss. She can be twisted Bliss. She can be now really, really twisted Bliss. Like I appreciate that, because I think that's a testament to her ability to perform in that way, and her ability to understand a character well enough that she can cut a promo as any of the three, but it's hard to invest in it when the person who started that story is not there. Yeah. I don't know. I follow Raw and SmackDown ish, like I kind of do, but I'm much more invested in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
With everything that's going on, Kushida being the Cruiserweight champion, teaming with formerly the Rascals, but now known as MSK, which is, I keep forgetting their WWE names, Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier. I think it's Nash, Carter, and Wesley. I think. I could be wrong. And their feud with Legado del Fantasma, which is formerly Alejo del Fantasma, now known as Santos Escobar, and
man, they love the name Escobar. Anybody with Hispanic blood. You see, like, if you watch the programming enough, you start seeing these names
patterns, yeah,
used constantly.
But
there's no storyline. Like, is this so and so's brother, their son, what's it supposed to? There's supposed to be a storyline here that we're supposed to be getting. Come on, Vince, fill me in. But
yeah, no, I'm now convinced, by the way, that Adam Cole is going to go to SmackDown to be with his father, Michael Cole, but also his arch nemesis, Pat McAfee.
Be interesting.
But speaking of SmackDown, SmackDown is the show, as far as main roster goes, that I follow a little bit more closely because I actually really like the storyline we have going with the Usos being sort of on different sides and Roman Reigns.
Right.
I have a feeling like it's going to be Uso versus Uso at some point, and it's going to tear me apart. So
I think we
just
need
getting ready
that
for that.
match. I think we do.
It's going to be a great match. It's going to be a very underrated match because so many people are very quick, and this will get us a bunch of downvotes. So sorry about it, not really, but people are so quick to write off the Usos for doing similar things that the Young Bucks do.
Right.
And it's like the Usos have been doing it for about as long as the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are just, indie darlings and also a little bit better at marketing themselves.
I think the big difference for me is, it's a complete different style. I mean, yes, they do some moves that are the same, like the super kicks. But besides that, they're two completely different styles of wrestling.
It's just that they're brothers.
They're just brothers.
Really what it is. That's, I think, the crux of it. They're tag team brothers. The Usos, one of the most popular tag teams in the WWE. Young Bucks, one of the most popular tag teams in the Indies, formerly and now in AEW. It's always been interesting to me how people will make the arguments and draw the comparisons between Young Bucks and Usos and not draw similar comparisons with GOD. Not necessarily because they're brothers, but because of what their position is. And I mean, the Young Bucks have tangoed with GOD. They both similarly have that wrestling lineage. GOD being the sons of Haku.
Right.
Usos being sons of Rikishi. So yeah, I've always found that really interesting. I love them, as you know. But yeah, lately I've seen so much, like, so many people not appreciate the Usos. And I'm just like, come on, like, they've been doing this for so long. And do you remember when they were face paint Usos versus...
I remember
they never sucked to me, but I know what you mean.
I remember when they came in and they were the shits. They were pretty bad in the ring. And I'm surprised WWE stayed with them for so long, but I think it was because they wanted that to feed that connection. Yeah. The Samoan dynasty, you kind of have to give and take.
Well, you can't get a much better gimmick than having twin guys be a tag team. They cashed in big on the Bellas. Of course, they were going to cash in on the Usos because the Usos also have the added benefit of being wrestling family.
It's a testament, though, to go, okay, let's invest in these guys. Even if it's just like you have them on NXT, you have them, travel and work and just try to get better and better and better, because then it was like, boom, overnight we got the Usos. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden we see them coming out, they're on the mic, and they're no longer this jobber tag team they were 8 years ago. They've learned, and I think they're probably one of the best mic workers in WWE. Their work, in my opinion, their work far surpasses Roman. And I know Roman has gotten a lot of gotten way better, especially since heel turn, because he could embrace that a lot more. It's a lot easier for him. Roman's worked to get to where he's at, but the Usos, their game is a whole other level, in my opinion, than Roman Reigns right now. Even now,
I agree.
And
I think they didn't have the benefit of being able to lean on somebody else, and that's no disrespect to Roman, but when he first came to the main roster, he was the brooding, quiet one in the Shield. So he didn't need to talk. That wasn't what he needed to do. He just needed to be intimidating, and he nailed that. And that's what I liked actually about him. Is the whole thing where he He doesn't need to say anything. He's just gonna go in there and he's gonna just like whoop.
He had that
Yeah,
Billy Gunn
and
one-liner.
And I thought was fine for him. It worked for what his role was in the Shield. Seth Rollins was the annoying one. Dean Ambrose is the one that could cut a promo, and the muscle was Roman Reigns.
But I mean, I would not mind getting some singles, stuff from the Usos against each other. I mean, it's an opportunity to make them individuals. I know, but
true.
You'd have individuals, instead of it just being the Usos. Now you got Jimmy. Now you got Jay. People can tell them apart, and they have their own individual actions. They have their feud with Roman, they have a feud with each other, they have a feud with other people, and then you can bring them back together down the road after a year or whatever, and they're more decorated. They're, you have a bigger commodity because now you have two commodities instead of just one. Now the problem is Vince hates tag teams. And often when Vince breaks up a tag team, he ends up firing one immediately, and then a year later he fires the other one. That's the big problem. Vince and his toy box. What he doesn't like, what he breaks apart, and what he tosses.
I don't think that's a risk with the Usos. Honestly, I don't. For no other reason than they would be scooped up really fast.
Oh yeah.
With somebody else, because I feel like they've made their name. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They could go somewhere else, and instead of being the Usos, they could be the Fatus. Easily. 100%. And especially with the work, kind of going back to what you were talking about with making names for themselves, Jay did that this year in a really big way. He was Roman's right-hand man, so still, I think, a subordinate of Roman Reigns, but he won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal this year. And as someone that's loved the Usos and has been able to tell them apart for a while, the tattoos, you can easily see their tattoos are very different. I thought this was really cool because for so long, Jimmy was the one, because he's also has another mini wrestling family, right? Naomi's his wife. So they've had that relationship highlighted a lot. I felt like Jay a lot of times didn't get as much attention. And in general, because of course Jimmy also got a lot of negative attention for his DUIs, which is not, I mean, you shouldn't ever drive drunk for sure, but I feel like it's not something that he's been made fun of a lot, and I'm grateful for it. I'm glad that it hasn't been joked about like some other people's problems on the WWE. I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, so I'm glad that now Jimmy's back. The Usos have the potential to get back together, but also they have the potential to explore how they're different. They've been a package deal for so long. And you've even had, and I don't know if this has been intentional or mistakes by commentary sometimes, where they'll misidentify which brother is which sometimes. They'll be like, oh, Jim, no, that's Jay. And it's like, just look at their arms.
Right.
Just look at their arms. Like, honestly, that was the first big clue to me.
Isn't he Fatu? Like right here.
And then Jay has a big cross on his arm.
Mm-hmm.
On his shoulder. You know, so it's not hard. It takes a moment for you to actually like look and be like, that's Jimmy's tattoo, or that's Jay's tattoo. But like, come on. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. You know how I feel about the Usos. I think that definitely they have the potential to go down as one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And I think that Vince and everyone in the WWE knows that and won't risk letting them go, because the Usos are on many, many tag teams' lists of people they want to face. God would face them. Young Bucks would face them. Finn Juice would face them. You have so many options and opportunities for them to go somewhere else if you let them go, that it's like you're gonna leave money on the table. Because I know specifically for me, if they let the Usos go and the Usos suddenly show up one year in World Tag League, take all my money, take every last cent.
I think it's a situation though, kind of like Zack Ryder. They're not going to leave unless they get let go. So I mean, in that respect, I think it's a situation where Vince doesn't have to worry about it, unless they actually let them go. But I want to get your opinion on something else. Moving away from that aspect and everything. New Japan.
All right, so New Japan. I'm gonna make us do a separate video because this has been about an hour. So this next one is going to be New Japan. I'm going to hit stop record and then I'm going to start another recording. This is what's going to happen right now. So this is right there. We're signing off for like 30 seconds. Bang bang.